Hi, welcome back to my new and slightly improved channel. My name is Prince. I am a Filipino criminology student, also a proud member of the LGBTQ plus community, and also a proud sustainability and social justice advocate. Today, we are going to be discussing a very important subject in the field of criminology, specifically in the field of investigation. So as we all know, conducting investigations is a huge part of the law enforcement pillar of our criminal justice system here in the Philippines. But how exactly does that function of law enforcement work? How do we ensure that our investigation methods are effective? And how do we keep the quality of our work in the field up to the standards? Our topic would answer all of those questions and so much more. This is CONYO Criminology, and today we are discussing the 6 cardinal points of investigation. If you're watching this, you might be in your fundamentals of criminal investigation and intelligence class or your technical English class. And let me tell you, you are in the right place. So to begin, what are the 6 cardinal points of investigation? Let us first dive in to the significant word found in the title itself, which is cardinal. So when we say cardinal, no, it's not the Roman Catholic rank, and no, it's not the bird den. Cardinal means something that is basic yet holds so much significance. So these points resemble everything that an investigator must acquire during an investigation. So think of the cardinal points as the building blocks into creating a successful investigation itself. So the 6 cardinal points are what, when, why, where, who, and how. Just remember the 5 W's and 1 H. I doubt that you haven't even encountered this before. So lagi niyong tatandaan, who, ha. Okay. Charot. Pero you get the point. 5 W's and 1 H. But to be more specific, it's not just what, when, why, where, who, and how. It's actually what specific offense has been committed, who committed it, where the offense was committed, when it was committed, why it was committed, and how the offense was committed. So lagi niyong tatandaan, it's just all about the offense that has been committed, but of course follow the 5 W's and 1 H. Actually, the cardinal points of investigation, it's more simple than you think. You just have to dive into them deeper kasi the investigation depends on how well you execute and acquire them. So let's dive into them one by one. The first point is what specific offense has been committed. This point asks us to dive into the specifics of the crime or the offense committed. Here, we need to identify the crime in order for us to move forward. Now, why exactly do we need to identify that? Identifying the crime right away would help in many ways in the investigation. It would give the investigation the proper direction, make them do the next necessary actions, and help constructing the next question to ask in interviews or interrogation. So, think of it this way, paano ka makakapag-move forward sa investigation kung hindi mo pa nga alam yung crime na nagawa? It's as easy as that. Now, when we identify the offense, we could set the direction of the investigation towards a more context-appropriate action plan. Now, when you are in an investigation, hindi pare-parehas yung ginagawa sa lahat ng cases. As a matter of fact, the direction changes depending on what crime has been committed. Like, do you think that they would consume more assets into investigating a crime na, let's say, nagnakaw ng plato versus a crime na nakapatay ng tao? So, you see, in this very small example, you can point out why identifying the crime itself would set the tone or set the direction of the investigation itself. The second point is who committed it. Of course, an investigation's goal is to shed light to the crime that has occurred, to give justice and closure to the victims of the crime, and to penalize the liable offenders. One of the ways to tick all of these boxes is to identify the perpetrator. Kasi nga, how would you give justice to the crime that has been committed if you don't even know who is the guilty person? So of course, this includes all of the people that might have contributed to the omission of the crime. So it does not only include our principal offender, but also their accomplices, accessories, and the who point of the cardinal points of investigation also applies with the people that will be helpful in the investigation. So make sure to identify the other possible witnesses and bystanders who might have information that might be useful in the investigation. So who is not just about who did it alone, but whoever is involved and whoever would help in the investigation itself. Now, the third point is why the offense was committed. It is the simple question of knowing the motive as to why the crime has been committed. So, was it planned? Was it an accident? Because knowing the reason why the crime has occurred simply leads to giving closure or sense to what happened. So like I said with the previous point, the goal of an investigation is to shed light on what happened and to serve justice itself. And knowing why the crime was committed is very important to this aspect kasi in this way, magkakaroon tayo ng sense or magkakaroon ng meaning yung crime na nangyari or yung investigation mismo. Before we continue, if you are learning and enjoying at the same time, don't forget to hit the like button, and to help a buddy out, don't forget to click subscribe to see more of my content. Continuing, the fourth point is where the offense was committed. Knowing the setting and or location of the crime is very much significant to the investigation. Now, why is it significant exactly? Now, the location plays a huge part in the investigation because this would lead into identifying possible suspects and other significant information that would include knowing where the crime was committed. The location or locations might also provide possible or important clues or forensic evidence that would lead to the investigator to the offender as well. So meron kasi tayong crimes na hindi lang nangyayari sa isang lugar. When we say crime scene, di ba doon nangyari yung crime itself? But we would also put into consideration the places where the offender has went to before and after the crime was committed. Kasi if we give significance and importance to the location of the crime, there are many possible things that we can find in the crime scene and the other settings as well. So you can find forensic evidence, for example. As complicated as it might sound, having access to where the crime has been committed actually might help you find or easily identify and suffice the other points of investigation through the help of evidence found in crime scenes. So, di ba nga, meron tayong 5 Ws and 1 H. So, all of those points can easily be identified when you know where the crime is committed and why and how exactly. Kasi a good example for this is forensic evidence. So, may identify mo na kung sino. And another one is security footage. So, with the technology nowadays, knowing where the crime is committed, merong possible security footage na mahanap doon na makakatulong sa atin mag-identify kung ano yung crime na nangyari at kung sino yung gumawa nun. Also, the location helps us find possible witnesses and bystanders as well. And of course, possible suspects then. Next, the fifth point is when the offense was committed. Now, we always have to remember that time is of the essence during an investigation. Actually, time is not your friend during an investigation. Not only is it significant in many cases, like let's say kidnappings or murders, missing possessions, time is an enemy in an investigation sometimes, so being able to identify when the offenses occurred can set a lot of boundaries, ideas, and expectations during an investigation. Let me give a good example. For example, knowing when a person went missing would be very valuable because this would establish the possible distance of a victim from where they were last seen. So, kumbaga, kung let's say, an hour ago, dito huling nakita si victim. So, makukompute ng investigation team natin kung hanggang saan siya possible na makaabot, via foot or via vehicle. So, dun nila mas mamove forward yung investigation kasi alam na nila kung saan nila hanapin. Alam na nila yung possible areas and places kung saan siya napunta. Another good example is knowing when the suspect is last seen. With this information, your team could easily compute how far the suspect would have gone with the given time. So similar with the victim, same with the suspect then, malalaman ng investigation team mo kung saan yung mga possible places and locations na pwede siyang pumunta at the given time. The sixth and the last point is how the offense was committed. There are so many reasons why this point is very committed. Kasi knowing how it was committed would identify what the crime is and why the perpetrator did it. Apart from documentation, knowing how a crime was committed would help you raise what, who, why, where, and when questions. Kasi a good example for this is paano siya pinatay. Nilunod. So madali lang yun. Maghahanap ka ng tubig. Nandun na si where. It will also help you make sense of mysterious occurrences or factors in the investigation. So how speaks more about the action done in the crime. So when you identify the how part of the cardinal points of investigation, dun yun na masasolve yung mga dun yun na masasagot yung mga tanong na hindi nasasagot dati pa. Needless to say, all cardinal points play a huge role in serving justice. They are what builds... wrong grammar. Needless to say, all cardinal points play a huge role in serving justice and moving forward with your investigation. They build the foundation of the investigation as well. So just remember the 6 cardinal points of investigation. So just remember the 6 cardinal points of investigation are the 5 W's and 1 H. Woo ha. What specific offense has been committed, who committed it, where the offense was committed, when it was committed, why it was committed, and how the offense was committed. I doubt that you would forget them. And that is all for today. Again, don't forget to like this video if you have learned something, and feel free to comment down below on any thoughts about our subject, or if you have any requests and suggestions for criminology content, please do say so in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe and keep learning better, fellow criminology students.